had to put extra lanterns because I'm doing this practically in the dark because it's storming really, really badly. It looks like daylight, but when you're working on clothing and you're trying to tin the garments, there's not much light. So I want to be able to know that I'm getting all of the stains and working with that. So I've got half water in here just from the pump, which is cold. And I boiled some water in the kettle, so I'm about to put that in there so that I can have the hot water, which is going to really, really help the clothing to really bring out those stains and really help with the removal and the lifting of the soiled portions of the garment. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me get me the garments. So I've got the garments here. I've got my chemise, and I've got my 1850s day dress, the blue one that you always see me wearing. It's either that one or this one. My polka dot brown one, I don't rather well wear that very often, so I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to find the soiled portions of it, because the key to Victorian, let me explain a few things before this, okay? So the key with Victorian living, and as well as their washing of their garments, because if you would know anything about history, that the Victorians really, they didn't bathe very often, so they had to find ways of keeping the soiled clothing off their skin. So preferably, oftentimes on their garments, they would only wash what was necessary and use treatment and, you know, oil stain removers or whatever with the particular soiled spot. And it's using less things, serving, and it's very economical and very important, because most of the people in the Victorian era were not, you know, kings and queens and princesses and princes. So they were mostly working class Victorians, and so they did not have that luxury of the upper class people. So I know I say so a lot, don't I? Excuse me, pardon me for that. But this is my soap laundry bar. It's a stain remover, and it's from, I believe it's from 1864, if I'm correct. I'm not quite positive, but I'll put it in the link in the bottom. And you can buy these, and you can grate them for your, you know, for your laundry soap or washing suds or whatever, washing soda crystals, or you can wet the stain, and then you rub this bar on it, and it works magnificently. I'm telling you, when they made things back in the olden days, in the old-timey days, they really, really did such a fabulous job. So it's very important to get things that are going to work well, that are also economical as well as efficient. They also work very well, and they're efficient, and they don't cost loads of money, you know, where you can spend loads of money on washing soda powder and all of that when you don't really need to. You can use borax, and you can use this, and this is what I used. And I'll put a bit of lavender drops of doTERRA oil in mine to make them smell really lovely and nice. So and then I've also got, I keep my little scrubber here, and I've got my little washboard. This is my little scrubber, and I also have all of my different treatment oils, you know, and I've got my sudsy things, ammonia, my bleach, that's what's in there, and then I've got my soda crystals too in here, yeah. So and then we've got also, you can't see it, but these are my pegs, which are, this is what I use, and they're really lovely, and they really work really, really fine. And my dear lovely friend Patty Ann got these for me, you know, ventured the real ones, and she got them, I believe it was in New England, I want to say. I hope, Patty, you're watching this and that was true. I'm not sure, but she lives in upstate New York, and she went to, I can't remember where she got them, but anyway, the point being is that you can find these on the internet, like Etsy. You can find them all sorts of places, and they really, really work so superbly well. I really, really love them, and this is what I use all the time because they don't break as easily as the, you know, the elements, making them quite banged up, and they do such a fine job. So I prefer those than the clippy ones, which I do have those. Let me see if I've got one here, because I really, literally, when I first started out, but you have to always remember, like, take your, you know, I've got my apron on, and so I always put a few in my pocket if I only have a few items to hang, because you always want to make sure that you're bringing them inside, because the elements will ruin them. So in order to, you know, make, do, and mend and keep things in great working order, you want to take care of your belongings. Just like I say, you know, if you spend 50 hours making my dresses like I do, or my bonnets and my underpinning clothing and all of that sort of thing, you want to take care of them and cherish them, because they're not just clothing to me, they're parts of me. And you want to feel beautiful when you wear your clothes every day, you know, your clothing. It really evokes an atmosphere and a type of sort of, you know, you have this certain sense of beauty and taking you back, sort of like in a time capsule when you wear old-fashioned clothing and live old-fashioned. That's why I love it and cherish it so much, because I remember when I was a young child and a wee little lass, that is what made me so happy, because I could go off in my imagination and pretend that I was Laura Ingalls Wilder, and it made me so happy to do it. And so why not, let's be as little children again and go back to that nature of who we really, really are, you know, find who you are. And if that takes a while to search that out and discover yourself, I think that's perfectly fine, don't you? So let's get on with it, okay? So let me get my bucket. Let me get my tea kettle. So what I'll do is I'll put loads in here, because this will sit overnight. This is going to soak overnight. And this is different. This is going to be different. This is for my garments. And I do not wash this other bucket back here is for my linens and my hand towels, because they're linen and they've been embroidered and they're antique, but they're also, you have to be very careful with them, because you've got to really cherish them, because they're, you know, thin, and it's important to really take care of those. And plus, I don't want the things that would be soiled from my kitchen, like when I'm cooking supper or anything, to mix with my clothing, because I want to keep those separately. So you have a little bucket. I mean, you could have it bigger if you wanted to, you know, like rather a size. Let me see if I can find that particular size. Let me show you. Find one this size. See, this is a little bit smaller than a bigger one, but you can find them at the, you know, at the Tractor Supply. A couple of these I've gotten at the Tractor Supply, and then a few of them I've purchased on the Facebook Marketplace, and I've also gotten a few things on the Etsy. But because they become bigger, I want to sometimes find them at a flea market locally, or, you know, a boot sale or something like that. Charity shops are really, really good for those things too. And I have a few that I like that's local, but I also really, really love to go to the flea markets, because you can always find really lovely things there. So always try to find those, and you can get them much cheaper or much less expensive, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think it does, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Okay, so now I'm going to, and these, oh, like I was going to say, this little pail has my dish towels, and it has my mop cloths, and like I said, it has my hand towels. See, they're real, you know, delicate and everything. And so I will soak those in there as well, because I really want them to be beautiful, and when I iron them, they're going to be all crispy and lovely and beautiful and ironed perfectly. So that's what I do. Okay, so I'm going to put that in here and really, really saturate it. going to finish it off with this because this is way more, loads more. I need more water in there, okay? And then what I will do is I will inspect my clothing, okay? So I know exactly where my particular stains are on this clothing. So what I'm going to do is use my little, my stain remover, and I'm going to, you know, get the bits under the arm, you know, from the sweating, because I live in Florida, so my chemise are very, very done on, you know what I mean? They're done on. So that's all I'm going to do there, and we will get going on that. This will take a bit of time, but that's all right. You could listen to a lovely podcast, or I like to listen to my BritBox television in a movie or something of that nature, because it really sets me in the right mood. And it's so important to keep the mindset that it makes you happy, because this is something that's so wonderful, and you can make, you know, like doing your dishes and doing your laundry bits and all of that can be very, very exciting and happy. And it's all the matter of mindset, is it not? It's a mindset thing, right? And so I'm just getting all of these bits, okay? And if I need to dip it, I will dip it. And then I kind of rub a bit, all right, in that particular area. Just not super hard, but just a bit gentle, you know, a little aggressive, you know, but not too abrasive. Do you understand? Yeah, you don't want to rub a hole in it. I know. You like, we know how to wash laundry, don't we? Every girl knows that, don't they? Every girl should know how to wash her hand laundry and bake a cake from scratch. Do you not agree? I do. So now that was the bit on that one. That was all. And now I'm going to dunk it. Okay? And it's a bit hot, okay? So you might want your little wooden spoon or your, you know, what you need on there, because it's a bit hot, okay? And you don't want to scald or burn yourself, okay? Now, this one, this is my dress, okay? And I know that on my sleeve, I think I had gotten some ketchup on it the other day. And so I've got to find that spot and rub it out. And why am I not finding it? What's going on with me, you guys? What's going on with me, you darlings? What? I can't find it. Oh, you know what I did? I remember now. I already cleaned it. When it happened, I went immediately. So what I will focus on is the hem, because it can get a bit dirty, you know? The hem is always going to be a bit dirty. And you want to do that, I'm telling you. And you don't want to, like I said, you don't want to put these in the machine, because it really does damage to them. Because, you know, you spend loads of money on antique and Victorian fabrics that cost, you know, upwards to around 9 quid, 12, 13 quid a yard. And so I'm very reluctant to put these in the washing machine, because I don't want them beat to death, you know? You know what I mean? I don't want them beat to death. So that's why I do it. And plus I kind of like it. It's kind of relaxing, you know? I really like it. But then again, maybe it's because I don't have loads of clothing to do. Now maybe if I did, I would be like, I'm not doing that, you know? Some people would just be like, I don't know, you've gone mad anyway, Raquel, you know? Like, they want to box me up because they think I'm ridiculous when I pretend that I'm living an old-fashioned life. But you know what? That's what makes the world go round, doesn't it? Now I've done this one. Now I will dip this one in. And now see, then I'm going to put my bit of suds in here, okay? Because this is also, and see, I use the little my little spoon. This was my children's spoon, and I had it just bent into that so I can put, you don't need a lot, alrighty? You do not need a lot. You're like, you don't need a lot. Let me put 6 scoops. Well, that's the same as about, you know, a cup or half cup, okay? And but you can't fit a big half cup in there, you know. It's too fussy. So then you just do this for a little while, and then you're going to let it sit overnight. You're going to let it soak, you know, in the heat. And then I will rinse tomorrow. I will rinse tomorrow, okay? And so I hope that you enjoyed this. And you hear it raining. So this episode is about, I wanted to do an episode that I thought would be something that I would enjoy and something that would bring me happiness and delight, and just have a wee little prattle with you, because I think there's so many things that I've been wanting to say that I have not said, or just, can you hear it? Isn't that lovely? I've got my kerosene lamps on in the cottage, and as you know, I've just been going through loads of different emotions and experiences as I've packed up the cottage and prepared for us to be moving to our new forever home. And I've not shared much about it, and I will share more in the future, in the near future. But I wanted to bring you this episode of just on a leisure day of me washing my handmade clothing. And I didn't want it to be just a normal episode, because I wanted to really talk about how it's not just a matter of me washing my handmade clothing, because I think it's more of a spiritual thing for me. Because when you begin to recognize like the true nature of yourself, and recognize the things that you really love in life, and the really things that really feel as though you are at home with yourself, that you've come to terms with being the person that you are, and you recognize that person and you love and embrace that woman. And I think that that's so wonderful, and I'm so happy that that has happened for me, especially in the last several months. I've really had this purging of these emotional barriers that long stood in my way, whether that's from, if you hear that in the background, that's the kittens. They're being mischievous, but they're so sweet and so lovely, and I love them so much. And like I was saying, it's been something that has really become beautiful of an experience for me, as I've been able to relish in just taking note of all of the matters that have come and gone in my life, especially like, you know, in particular after Sawyer's book was published and sent out into the universe, and how wonderful and freeing that felt for me. And also just us packing up and recognizing that it's time for us to go on our merry way, and how wonderful that feels, and how exciting and new and adventurous it feels that for Jeffrey, Sean and I to finally be able to come to our own, finding our own particular forever happy place. And that is something that I think all women long for, to have a place that, you know, denotes this sense of belonging, that you know that you're home, that you are in home, you know, you're at home in your heart and in your soul, and you're at one with like nature and the surroundings and your atmosphere that you're in. And that, as an artist, is so important for me. And, you know, as I've been on this voyage, which I call it a voyage, obviously I'm always going to be on a voyage. We all are going to be always on a voyage. But to know that there's some chapters that have closed out, and it feels so wonderful and so refreshing and so complete, you know, it feels as though I'm never going to take those courses again. I'm never going to go on that you know, that stream of current of where I had this mindset of like negativity and resentment and all of those things that happen when you go through a divorce. And, you know, even when you're the person that, you know, wanted the divorce, like as myself, you know, me going forward with that, because I knew that it was so important for me to create this dream life that I had always wanted. And I did it. I literally did it. And I met my twin flame. I manifested my twin flame, and how wonderful that was. And then, although we all have vicissitudes and hardships in our life, that knowing that when we are true to the nature of who we are as a person, as a woman, and we can be truthful with ourselves, we can be authentic, we can be vulnerable and open, how wonderful and beautiful that feels internally. And that regardless of what's going on in our lives, because we all are going to have, you know, little ebbs and flows in our lives, we just are. But if we know how to handle those, and we know that we can look through those with, you know, optimism and joyful notions of, you know, following your bliss, how much better of a voyage it is, even when things are difficult or things are a little bit tough. You know, we've got some rough patches of water, and you know, there's storms brewing often, and how fitting with the, you know, the storm that's going out the cottage. And but I just wanted to come to you and talk about a little bit more about what was going on with me, as well as talking about how it can sometimes feel really, really overwhelming, I think, for women, as I've talked to many, many women, and especially like with that particular way of wanting to dress how you want to dress, whether it's old-fashioned or it's 1930s or it's the classic English countryside, middle-aged British woman, you know what I mean? And how all of these beautiful ways that every woman is individually and as a collective, you know, as a Stillwater collective of us being, you know, a petticoat society, that everyone is all on their own voyage. And that is also in relation to the laundry and the washing of your garments, you know, because not everyone really, really wants to either, whether it's, you know, either they invest in wanting to do things the old-fashioned way, or this homemaking, you know, really simple and Stillwater kind of life, you know, as I would say, like Tasha Tudor. And so it's so important, I think, for myself as well, to not invoke those type of strict, rigorous notions of belief onto other people, like for example my husband and my parents, or even my children, you know, like not in particular, not many people want to live that kind of life, and I understand it. And so I just wanted to show you like what I do, but that by all means does not mean that I accrue this kind of like it's an all or nothing sort of thing, because I think that that's one thing that you learn, or I have learned being 51 now, is that I do not want to put my particular beliefs. Everyone has a right to, you know, want to use a modern washing machine. And like I've told you many times, I do certain things, like I'm coming to you with a camera, I'm coming to you with you know, cellular telephone, and that not everyone wants to really fully embrace those things, and that it's okay if there's a process to it, that not everyone is on the same level, not everyone wants to do it that way. But that doesn't mean that you can't do any of it. You know, it's based on you as an individual, and whatever you desire to do for your life has no infringement on someone else's way that they want to live their lives as well. And I just think that that's so important to illustrate that the kittens are a little bit distracting, but like I said, they're very lovely and I absolutely adore them. So I'm not going to, you know, keep them from, you know, you know, messing about in the cottage, and they will probably come up here and I'll put them on the camera. Look, this is Peter. That's Peter. Say hi, Peter. And see, he lights the fire. He always wants to get near the lanterns. I'm like, it's hot, baby. It's hot, little baby. But anyway, yeah, so I wanted to share that with you before I get going on the episode. And that, because if you know anything about Florida, you know that we, in the month of July, it's raining puddles. It's always raining puddles every single day. It's like, it's flooding. So oftentimes I had my dryer, my Victorian dryer rack in the cottage. Now in the morning, I'll be able to put my freshly laundered garments on the clothesline, and I'll show you that and demonstrate that. But for the meantime, I always do my clothing inside. I always do my clothing on the inside of the cottage, because it's not loads, no pun intended, it's not loads amounts of clothing, because I only have 3 dresses that I wear consistently, and then all of my underpinnings, and those I tend to wash at least twice a week. But I wanted to demonstrate, you know, a couple of my dresses, and you know, if it has some like oil stain, or I hope that you'll partake of the lovely labels that I made, that I prepared for you and made. And you might not want to use them, but you might find a jolly well good idea that you want to use them and have them printed off on waterproof. I would suggest waterproof for the labels, because you can buy those labels with the waterproof, so that when the ink doesn't run or anything of that nature. So I would suggest doing it for waterproof, you know, because sometimes the spray will drip down from the nozzles, and it's a bit of a fuss because it will run the ink. We'll partake of those and enjoy those to see how I made the dolly, and how you could also make the dolly, and giving you the instruction of exactly what you need, kind of like a DIY. Well, it's actually exactly like a DIY. I will give you instructions on that as well, if you like it and you might want to make one of your own. And I hope you do, and like share it with me. And I think that would be rather fun to see that on the Instagram.